Welcome to Cut Daisies and Unicorns, everybody. We're here. We're here in the studio today, and we are talking about Fringe today.
Back in the haunted house.
Back in the haunted house. Right?
It
could be a haunted house. I don't know.
It's appropriate for Edgar.
Sure. It is. Like it's the season for Edgar. Edgar needs to shine, and he's doing so right now. He's agitated, everybody.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Agitated.
Yeah.
There's a direct correlation. Like, I don't know. There's some dude on Instagram, I think, that, like, does charts and stuff like that, you know, about, like, what I think I'm doing, what I'm really doing, and what's really being done, or and stuff. And there's a direct correlation between agitation and the lack of sleep.
Oh, I could see that.
Yeah. I'm telling you what. We talked about the move coming up. Well, so
yeah,
a week ago tomorrow, we bought the house, condo. I don't know. Condo sounds like I don't even know what to think about that word. I mean, because, you bought a condo. I'm like, well, I mean, it's a condo association. It's just like, it's the legalese. Mm-hmm. I'm living in a 2-bedroom multifamily unit. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, who buys a house that shares walls with another family? Apparently this guy.
Apparently that guy.
We've talked about multi-flats in Chicago, because a lot of the homes aren't single family dwellings, or 2 flats, they call them, is our lingo in Chai land, and stuff like that. Yeah. So anyway, then we spent the weekend cleaning to prepare for the move, and then the move. Now the good news is I had enough stuff boxed up, saved 2 hours on the move.
There you go.
It's
always good to save time.
This is Coble math here. Mm-hmm. I was able to tell my wife, honey, I saved you $400.
She's like, is this going to be Coble math?
And she's like, good job. And so, I had all this stuff. But I will tell you, I was not emotionally prepared for the opposite of packing.
Mm. Right, which is unpacking?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. The psychological effects, because when you have 30 days to slowly pack up the non-essentials and wean down your essentials, at one point in the time of getting ready to move, I was like, hey, this is a warning for everybody who's listening with children around. I am going to swear. What the fuck do we need all this shit in the boxes for? And
that's a good question.
because we were getting by just fine.
Yeah. And
so I'm thinking that as I unpack, that's another great question to ask. We did go from a 3-bedroom down to a 2-bedroom, so that question's being asked all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it goes back to our conversations about minimalism, right?
It does. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're like, do I need this?
Well, yeah.
If I was getting by without it, do I need it?
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so there is an attic in this condo.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
can you put a bed up there?
Well, I mean, eventually, yeah, I can. Yeah, there's a couple things that have to be dealt with, in that temperature control, because it's just hot. It's hot up there.
Yeah.
I mean, even when it's cold out, it's hot.
Well, because of the heat from the
heat rises, and and just natural, and then the sun's beating down on it, and there's no insulation. So then there's insulate. This is.
It's going to be a project.
It's a fodder for many, many projects. But anyway, long story short, you get 30 days to pack up boxes, and I committed to at least 5 boxes a day. So I'm estimating there's like 150 boxes.
Yeah.
Well, that's all well and good when you got 30 days to pack it. Mm-hmm. When the movers bring your 150 boxes and drop them in the rooms they're supposed to go into, now you got 150 boxes that you're going to go through and get unpacked in 5 days. This math isn't working out for me at all. Wine. Yeah, I mean, hey, you know what? It just is the part of, I do think to myself, the next time we're going to talk about moving, I'm going to start talking about PTO and how much of it Amy's going to take in getting ready.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's probably a bad suggestion for a conversation.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm just telling you, my head is foggy.
Yeah.
And my voice, you can hear it. Apparently, I'm tired enough when I'm sleeping that I must be snoring because my voice feels like I've been smoking 2 packs a day for the last week. But that's not the case. Nor have I been singing the lovely melodies to make my voice scratchy.
Right.
But
so it's neither the effects of singing or smoking.
Nicotine. Yeah, no, it's not. It's not.
Just a tired voice.
Just a tired voice.
Tired voice, everybody that you're hearing.
So if I have problems with my thought process or finding the words in the English language to use, which for people who are consistent listeners would understand that it would probably be a reflection that I would tilt into choosing profanity because my gate is rusted kind of open right now.
The floodgates are open a bit, and so there's stuff that's gonna just naturally find its way out.
Would like to point out a tip. I had one of our listeners interact with me last week, and just to let everybody know, this is an option. If I talk too slow, or Phil talks too slow, or the episode seems too long, our little buddy Nick, shout out to Iowa, to Nick P, and he listens to Cut Daisies and Unicorns at 1.5 times speed. Now I'm not sure if I have to actually go through and do it once, to see what we sound like. But I wonder if it's if it's like the Chipmunks.
I don't think it's that bad because I usually listen to now most of my podcasts are at a 1.25.
Oh,
and so it does speed it up.
Yeah,
but it doesn't distort it.
Huh.
Like there's some parts if somebody is talking really fast, like, trying to go through, that a 1.25, like you can hear it. Like you're like, oh, well, that one sped up a little bit.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's like, no, it's like that's a comfortable one for me.
Yeah.
Because then if it's an hour podcast, it can shorten it.
Oh man.
I mean, so the one that my podcast routine is usually like, so I have the news. Axios is the news source, and they have every morning they put out like a 10-minute one.
Okay,
it's like 10 to 11 minutes.
So you cut that down to about 7.
Right. So I listen to that first. What are the news stories that they're? So they usually pick the big story, and then they've got a couple of minor stories underneath it that are like, hey, you should still know about this.
Yeah.
So
nice.
Yeah, so that's usually my first one. Get that one done. Listen to the news, and then it's I think there's like 6 other podcasts. Some of them are on. A lot of them get released on Mondays, and so it's like Monday morning they're available, and so listen to a couple there. And so Cut Daisies is like, so we're a little over an hour.
Yep.
Closer to an hour and a half, so that one takes a little bit longer to listen to, but
yeah, we've been doing good though. I mean, we're wrapping up and saying goodbyes by an hour and 15.
Yeah.
And There's one season, man, we were just yakking for 2 hours.
Right, that was a long episode. There were some long episodes.
If you're missing,
we had lots of topics there,
missing our voices and stuff like that. So, oh my gosh, yeah, and just a frame of reference. We've been doing a historical frame of reference for folks just for solidarity's sake. Mm-hmm. And just want to let you know that this is being recorded on October 27th, 2022. We're rounding the corner, heading into 2023.
Yep.
Interest rates spiked to just under 8% and are kind of coming back down to, if you shop for it, you probably can get 7 1/8 or 7.5%, but major, and I'm quoting a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. The beautiful thing is we just came off of a wonderful Indian summer weekend. The weather, I mean, like almost balmy. Yeah. I felt like, global warming or whatever we're going to call it. What are we calling it?
Climate change.
Yeah, climate change. Mm-hmm. Yeah, was effectual. Mm-hmm. But yeah, just beautiful. And then it got Winnie the Pooh blustery.
It did.
I mean, not to be an Eeyore, but just to let you know, I mean, like if there were leaves on the tree that could be let go, the wind helped it along. Mm-hmm. And so, but yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. Then Tuesday, all rain.
I know. Dark and gloomy. Uh-huh. And so I'm seasonal, what's that called?
It's called SAD, seasonal affective disorder.
Yeah,
something like that.
So what I've noticed, and this is really odd, I don't feel this way going around, like coming out of winter into spring when it's gloomy.
Yeah,
we've talked about me liking it so much.
Mm-hmm.
When it was raining the other day, I was just like, man, this sucks. Mm-hmm. Which I usually don't have that approach. So I'm actually going through in my mind some parts of process to bring joy. And so, I got some songs written down to start working on new covers and made sure I had a couple good books. So I'm reading a biography right now. One of our new neighbors said that our local community library is really, really a good one.
Yeah.
So I thought, you know what? I might go get my library card. And then because I really enjoy biographical work. And it's good. It's good to read a book.
It is good to read a book. Read a book.
Yeah. And I know that we have people who listen who absolutely love to read. Mm-hmm. Hashtag Aunt Linda.
Yo, Aunt Linda.
Yeah. So anyway, we head into, in this weekend of October, next Monday is Halloween. Mm-hmm. And this is episode 5.
It is.
75.
75, which is a favorite of yours.
I like the number 5. It's been my favorite number since I was a little kid. It's a bit narcissistic. I was born on the 5th of January. So easily brought into that. But we head into one of the topics that we really enjoy talking about and have not talked about even like in a leapfrog way.
Yeah.
Recently. And so we're bringing the Fringe event here your way, and we're going to talk about Fringe shit.
We're going to talk about Fringe.
I was thinking about it this morning, though, and that is, another thing that I haven't ranted about for a while?
Yeah.
I have not ranted about conspiracies. And I was thinking about that. Mm-hmm. Like, what was really going on? And I think that there's a part where I feel culturally people don't need gasoline poured on a fire.
Right.
And the idea of conspirator-driven media seems like it could just be pouring gasoline on an emotional fire. So apparently, we're talking about Fringe today.
Yeah.
And it's Halloween weekend. And I was commenting, all of a sudden, Phil looks over and sees something has happened.
It's a ghostly figure that just just kidding. There's no ghostly figure.
There's something that happened to the
whole system.
Yeah, like it just stopped, and the sound bars weren't jumping, and the recorder wasn't recording, and yeah, so thankfully Phil caught it before an hour and 15 minutes was up.
That's true. Yeah.
And we go back and we see that we actually captured 17 minutes.
We did.
Yeah, but then it stopped.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess Phil's going to be watching those little bars.
Yeah, right. Now I'm going to pay attention. Yeah, it was somehow we were talking, you had mentioned a conspiracy, right? And then
it was gone.
And
I think we had this whole conversation about Jordan Peele that got missed and all of that.
Yeah, and maybe that's it. Because I think you talked about Tyler Perry. Maybe Tyler Perry was the trigger, and then we went over. Nope, not Tyler Perry. Jordan.
Yeah,
Peele.
Jordan Peele. Right. Yeah. Well, anybody who listens to the podcast know that I am more of a generalist in my approach.
Yeah.
I mean, I was talking about Two Black Men, so It's like, hey, what's your favorite song? And blah 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 blah. I'm like, I know it when I hear it, but I don't know the name of the title.
Right.
I have to ask my phone to listen.
Yeah, tell me what I'm listening to.
Tell me what my favorite songs are.
Yeah, so Jordan Peele he's done some, I guess they technically put a lot of the movies he did early on into the category of horror. To me, I look at it more suspenseful than horror. I really enjoyed Get Out, both the commentary on it, but also I just thought it was really well done.
Yeah.
I did not see Us, and I did not see Nope. Primarily because if it's in the horror category, my wife's like, nah. Like, so then it's just like I have to find a way to, watch them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then he did the remake of Candyman.
It's true.
In 2021, which we mentioned. So
yeah.
So Candyman is I think they call Candyman an iconic, what's the word for it? Like tale or, I'm trying to find out. Folklore. That's what. Yeah. So it's like, it's more story than it is
urban legend.
Right. Almost, yes, very urban legendy. Right. And yeah, so Candyman, I know that there was one, I think it was in the 90s that there was the original. I think it was the original. Maybe it was redone there too.
Well, I can about place that, and I'm gonna guess somewhere close to 89, 90, 91, somewhere in there.
Okay.
That's my three number estimate.
So it looks like they did a 3 set, which I didn't even know they did a 2 and a 3 of that, but the original Candyman was 92.
Okay.
And then they did a farewell to something, so Candyman 2 was 95, and they did a Candyman 3 in 1999. So, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I remember seeing the original Candyman. I did not see the remake, though. So apparently it was, they made it a little bit creepier, so, yeah.
Wow.
But speaking of creepy things, so there was a moment in time when the Winnie the Pooh tales were up for its copyright, and the family, whatever, who it belonged to, didn't grab it right away, and it was in the public domain. And there's a movie that they ended up making, with Pooh and Piglet. And it's like this horror, like slasher film.
Really?
Yeah. So let me
wow. Of all the things.
Yeah. So yeah, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
Oh my word.
Yeah, the trailer turns Pooh and Piglet into slasher movie maniacs. The indie horror movie Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey is set to be a dark retelling of the classic Winnie the Pooh story. So it has Christopher Robin, but he's older and has abandoned Winnie the Pooh. And apparently Winnie the Pooh and Piglet don't like that they were abandoned. Some very creepy stuff. Like, I saw the trailer for it because I thought it was a spoof. Like, I was like, oh, like this isn't real, right? It's like, no, this is an actual movie that's gonna get released.
Wow.
So yeah, so Blood and Honey, release date, like it just came out 7 days ago. Oh, it says possible release October 20th, 2022.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. But, so just as a warning for parents out there, if you are going to see the new Winnie the Pooh movie, it is rated R, and you should not bring your kids.
Yeah. They'll be traumatized for life.
They will be traumatized.
They will be more traumatized.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Actually, as far as Jordan Peele movies, of all the things that he's been in and has directed or produced or directed and stuff like that, Nope is like 8 in the top 10. They're not even given that. They rate Candyman higher.
Oh.
And then this list is weird. Us gets number 3. Black Klansman.
Yeah.
Gets
I like that one too.
Number 2. I've not seen it. But Get Out 2017. I mean, it knocked it out of the park but definitely they're saying like it's horror. But Nope is the best thing to sum up Nope that came out this year is that it's Jaws of the Sky.
Jaws of the Sky.
So anyway.
Huh.
But apparently it's horror and comedy put together. So and the Black Klansman has Spike Lee directing with Peele producing. So iconic director Spike Lee. But yeah, all right. Well, you got us to creepy with Winnie the Pooh and Piglet shedding blood. And
yeah, I was just looking at some of the history on that, and it was so 1961 Disney acquired Winnie the Pooh, so it was under Disney control.
Yeah.
But it was in January of 2022 that it became public domain, which means Disney would no longer have exclusive control over Winnie the Pooh and how it was depicted. And so somebody apparently then already had a script ready. They sold it, shot it, and now it's going to be released. So
wow.
Or it was released. I still can't even see if there's a where it was released or or how do I watch this Winnie the Pooh horror movie?
You're going to chase that down, aren't you?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, if
this is where when you have sons and son-in-laws who know how to get technology, like they're like, I mean, how they know where to get stuff to be able to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think Are you eager to know where to watch it? If so, I will mention the streaming services below. So let us know about the
Phil,
availability.
Look at the camera. Look at your camera. This is Phil's eager face.
It's my eager face. So no, it's not going to be on Netflix. It will be released in 2020. Yeah. Till now, what is the Winnie Pooh horror? Till now, no official date has been released. So somebody threw out that it was supposed to be October. So this was all about where to watch Winnie the Pooh. I will update the information on the availability of the movie on different streaming sites once it will be announced. Keep visiting us. So apparently there must have been a delay if they were originally talking about October 20th, which, if it was a creepy movie, it's usually the time, to release those kinds of films, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We can get on board with that.
Right. FX released the second season of Child's Play, like Chucky, the doll.
Yeah,
I had never watched the first.
I'm not watching that.
No.
Yeah.
And then Halloween Ends just came out, I think, last week for the Halloween season. I think my son has already watched all of it, and he apparently is into that genre. He likes Evil Dead. Have you ever heard of Evil Dead?
You know what? I have not.
No. So it's also kind of, it's a bloody kind of mess of a show, but it's been around for Sam Raimi. Do you know that name?
I don't, but I'm seeing it. Yeah. So back in the day, 1981, The Evil Dead, American horror film franchise created by Sam Raimi, consisting of 4 feature films and a television series.
Yes.
I didn't realize. Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he's kind of been, I think there's a video game too, because I think he plays the Evil Dead video game.
So did he see so he's super excited about Evil Dead Rise in 2023.
Oh, it's coming. I'm assuming he does. I haven't heard him talk about it, but I'm assuming he knows if he's in that realm. So, but it's kind of got some, the guy is kind of goofy, funny. So there's some comedy that's kind of attached to it as well. But it's got creepy stuff all attached there, and so somebody out there probably also is other fans of Evil Dead. And so that's another creepy thing. But Sam Raimi, a lot of people know Sam Raimi is that he did the Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire trilogy.
Ah, okay.
So, yeah.
So you're saying he sold out?
Yeah. But he kind of goes again, as you can tell that there's another movie apparently coming out next year that he still has his roots in Evil Dead. So
So apparently this too is horror comedy.
Right.
And it says the classic low budget horror film combines the right amount of gore and black humor, giving the Evil Dead an equal amount of thrills and laughs.
Mm-hmm.
I watched, it was funny. So with the move, you've got all the things you have to change, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I had the cable guy come out, and hey, shout out, hashtag not a sponsor, Xfinity, which is Comcast. Great job getting that all lined up.
And switched over.
I pushed a button, got it scheduled. The person showed up in the time frame that they were scheduled for, and they got everything changed over and up and going. It was seamless.
Yeah.
It was incredibly wonderful. That being the case, the guy he's like, I didn't have the TV hooked up, and I didn't have my iPad with me, and he's like, we need to test this. And I'm like, well, how are we going to do it? I mean, dude, the movers just left 13 minutes ago. I mean, so we put my phone in airplane mode.
Yeah.
and then connected to the Wi-Fi, and then we're able to stream a YouTube video and verify that it was up and running and stuff. But like he's like, yeah, my test came back bad. I had to get back up on the pole and make some other adjustments and blah 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 blah. I mean, like, no, the dude was solid, and drilled a hole in the side of our house, on the one on of the two walls that I don't share, the front and the back. Yeah. And so anyway, but we're talking about streaming services and how disappointing Netflix has become. And and so he's like, yeah, I like Amazon Prime too, you know. And he's like, they got the best kung fu movies. And I'm like, really? He's like, oh yeah, man, I love watching that old kung fu movie stuff, and you know, and things like that. I'm like, I wondered if he liked that before the new Karate Cobra Kai thing.
Yeah, which is not kung fu related. But
no, it's not. It's martial arts, for us to be correct. But I mean, you know, Bruce Lee was a legend in his time, and so anyway, last night I ended up watching this movie that I have a terrible time when I see lag with lips, and you know, like
those kung fu movies have lag,
voiceover and stuff. But yeah, it was new released on Netflix. And yeah, it was a great love story.
It was a great love story.
Yeah.
It was a kung fu film with a love story?
Well, it was samurai and like the rise up of a new age, and yeah, martial arts. Yeah. All right. So I'll have the title here. Not that one. Not that one.
So it's apparently a franchise too, huh?
No.
Or just a lot of kung fu films with the word samurai in it.
Yeah. Well, I'm leaving everybody hanging right now because it's not showing up in the.
Ooh. But it was on Netflix?
Yeah.
Or Amazon? No?
No, it was Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we'll come back to it.
Yeah. Well, I remember like a new. Did you ever see Kill Bill 1, 2 movies?
I have.
Yeah. So those were in a style of kung fu, but you also didn't get the lag. I mean, and it had.
Oh yeah.
You know, Carradine guy.
Yeah.
You know, what was he? He was Grasshopper, wasn't he? Or was it it was something he in the I think it was called Kung Fu, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, in the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I enjoyed Kill Bill because it had both the elements of kung fu, but then there was like, I mean, he had this.
Well, and who's the director producer?
Tarantino.
Yeah. So and it was very Tarantino-esque.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and so yeah.
Yeah. But I enjoyed those as almost like it was an ode to old kung fu films, but also kind of updated in the Tarantino style. So
yeah, very comic book-esque,
right?
Even in the color saturations,
right?
And things like that. Yeah,
yeah. But I still remember the one scene that she goes into the one. You know, kind of the kung fu studio, and there's like just a whole bunch of people, and she just slashes them all, and there's like piles of blood everywhere, and it's, you know, like it's almost like comical, you know, amounts of blood. I don't know if that's even comical for some people or not, but yeah.
So it's Shogun Assassin or
Shogun Assassin.
Rurouni Kenshin. Before he was a protector, Kenshin was fearsome assassin known as Badasai. But when he meets gentle Tomeo Yukishiro, his story begins. So this one is called The Beginning, and I would not be surprised if somehow this all gets blown up into a real thing. So Shogun Assassin back in the 80s is a notorious medieval classic from 1980. It famously got banned in the UK for its original release owing to its extreme violence. Banned, bootlegged, and bodged.
Yeah, the review I see rewatched this movie yesterday. A real dark, somber movie with some very solid voiceover. The lone wolf and his son take us into a great journey filled with original adversaries and symbolism.
So apparently, Shogun Assassin is an anime.
Yeah, it looks that way from the images that I'm seeing. So it must have come out of there that they said, hey, let's do a live action from the place of the anime.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow. Well,
yeah.
So that's movie classics.
All right.
Phil and Steve. So
if we're not exactly creepy, but it's got other elements.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of And so, very interesting. I never thought of it as a slasher movie.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of people die.
Yeah.
With an assassin involved.
Right.
Yeah.
Which would make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So my leaning. So what I thought we would do as a gateway. This will make you laugh.
Yeah.
As a gateway into the dark, the dreary, the fringe.
Yeah.
Is let's talk shrooms for a while.
Talk shrooms.
So from CNN, shrooms, Alice, tweezers, mushies, hongos, pizza topping, magic mushrooms, everyday lingo for psychedelic mushrooms seems to grow with each generation. Yet, leading mycologist Paul Stamets believes it's time for fans of psilocybin mushrooms to leave such childish slang behind.
No.
He says, let's be adults about this. There are no longer shrooms. These are no longer party drugs for young people. These mushrooms are non-addictive, life-changing substances. Small clinical trials that have shown that 1 or 2 doses of this substance given in a therapeutic setting can make dramatic and long-lasting changes in people suffering from treatment-resistant major depressive disorder, which typically does not respond to traditional antidepressants.
Interesting. And is it psilocybin? Is that what technically the substance or
psilocybin? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's what I was thinking, but
yeah. See, you're read up on this. Yeah. Yeah. So apparently, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has described this as breakthrough medicine, which is phenomenal. Psilocybin.
And it is natural.
It is.
I mean, so that would be the, versus like some of the other drugs that are currently on the market are not natural.
Classic psychedelics such as psilocybin and LSD enter the brain via the same receptors as serotonin, the body's feel-good hormone. Serotonin helps control body functions such as sleep, sexual desire, psychological states such as satisfaction, happiness, and optimism.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's, and I hear it like quite a bit from people talking about microdosing psilocybin, right? And and some people are using like a microdosing, and I don't know if they're microdosing really under the supervision of a medical professional, or they're just saying like, oh, I hear other people talking about microdosing, let's see what happens,
And like, do you remember when we were doing 80-35 and we met my one buddy down there, and I mean, he pulls out of his pocket a bag of shrooms. I mean, like, he was going to Missouri and like running shrooms back and forth for people in Des Moines.
Right.
I mean, he's a naturalist.
Right. Got to stick with the natural substances.
It just goes back to what got me on that track is just, we talk about Fringe, we talk about fringe sciences and stuff like that, and then we talk about the series Fringe, and that one of the main players in there, he was dosing LSD and shrooms, and it just, wow.
Yeah, so I think that, trying to be able, because I hear that there are great movements in that, and in the realm that you mentioned, but I still think that there's that fear, right?
Well, not from Matthew Johnson, a professor in psychedelics and consciousness at Johns Hopkins Medicine. Yeah. Johns Hopkins is hiring and paying a really smart person to study this.
Yeah.
And so, just bringing it out there. We know that weed's being legalized across the United States, and and this is one of those things that I would have a hard time doing. But for people who suffer with PTSD and just very chronic depression,
right,
life debilitating, I'm like, I think if something's broke, that broke, there's probably a great desire for relief in such a way that, we're not talking about, Gunger and Science Mike stories, where they're self-administering and
right,
and stuff like that. But, I would definitely be going down the route of, I would want to be working with somebody who knew their shit.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, to me, if you're looking at trying to gain the attention of actually being in the medical realm, let's not talk, hey, I'm just microdosing because I've got some friends who've microdosed and they're pretty good at it. That's still probably not the best way to be able to handle something that you're saying is medically going to be beneficial for some people. It's the same thing. With marijuana, they did that. It first became more acceptable when they were saying, hey, we found some patients that this has worked, for in a medical situation, not just recreational. And then once it became, I think, a little bit more hey, this is used good, there's some good instances of how this is being used medically, then it became, okay, it's a little bit more acceptable, and now we're here in most, the federal government is still not moved it from, a class 1 drug, but they're, Biden, which, that move was just silly, but he said, for any federal misdemeanor marijuana charges, they would be let out, but nobody gets charged a misdemeanor federally.
Yeah, right.
So he's so it was a move to kind of it basically did nothing, but all right, now you're just being silly, Mr. President. You're trying to be able to say, hey, we're trying to relax the view of marijuana, and but really not doing anything.
Yeah.
But I think that's the movement that they're trying to make within the psilocybin mushrooms kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is they're saying, hey, we actually want to study this scientifically, trying to be able to move it to an actual conversation that the people aren't just saying, hey, I'm going to go tripping.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's fun.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why, being under the supervision of an actual medical person, is going to cut down what they would call a bad trip versus having this being controlled. And if there happens to be something that bad occur, hey, medical professional, you're already in control of this. You know how to be able to help them.
Well, of course, basing real life on works of current culture.
Right.
The guy from Blacklist that went in, and apparently the research that's showing is it allows certain parts of the brain to function better than it does without it.
Yeah.
And it shuts off other functions. And which is basically a going back and just keep playing the bad reel of tape in your mind of negativity and bad thoughts and stuff like that. And then the other thing is dendrites. It helps neurons in the brain sprout new dendrites, which look like branches on a tree, to increase communication between cells. These drugs can increase neuronal outgrowth. They can increase this branching of neurons, and then they can increase synapses. That's called neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
So that's different from neurogenesis, which is the development of new brain cells, typically from stem cells in the body. And so, there are things going on here, and they're finding the story, and it's interesting. Now, what will be very interesting is how much the drug companies lobby against the natural versus what they'll try to do is instead of growing mushrooms, they'll try to figure out a synthetic.
Yeah.
And about 70 years later, there's going to be
a flush of mushrooms that to this day I've never witnessed so many.
There's a series on Netflix about shrooms.
There's two that are apparently, so there's one that's called How to Change Your Mind. And it's a docu-series about the uses of psychedelics. And then there's one that's just called Have a Good Trip, which apparently is just celebrities talking about their trips.
Wow.
So, like, two, and I don't know, maybe it also talks about some history things, but I think there's two in particular that would shed some light on the use of all of these. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, hopefully that doesn't get us flagged. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. I can go in and cut it out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. People are like, cut it out.
Like, I didn't hear it.
Yeah, yeah. Like there's part of this conversation that we did have that you're not getting to hear.
And that's intentional, so that you can continue to watch this.
Yeah, cut it out.
Cut it.
So this weekend's Halloween. Well, I mean, or Monday.
They're pretty much going to have festivities all weekend long.
All weekend long.
And then Monday too.
Yeah. Are you gonna figure out a costume?
I don't know. I mean, I should. I mean, usually all I do is throw on my my Viking helmet that I have, and there's my costume. But I probably should do something different, since I think I've done that one for the last couple of years now.
So 2 weeks ago, I went to Aldi, and I was going down the aisle of shame, and they had candy, and I'm like, oh, I'll get some of this, Yeah, bag of Twix and a bag of Reese's peanut butter cups has been consolidated down to one bag of both. Apparently, I really can get a sweet tooth. Yeah.
Because it's already gone?
Well, one bag's gone. Yeah. It's, yeah. But, oh, man, yeah. So, anyway, it'll be interesting to see what happens in our new neighborhood. Where we were at before, there was a lot of traffic on Green Bay. And I don't think we were ever home, but I think Monday night I'll probably be home. So I'll leave the light on and see what happens. The ghouls and the goblins.
It's a new neighborhood. You never know, right?
Yeah. So we're on the same street is the Home Alone house.
Yeah.
And so
so there's lots of traffic there.
Oh my gosh, yeah, they'll be, and then the community house is right next door too. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of traffic we get.
Community house.
So it's an old. You remember in Home Alone, the movie, when he runs into the church?
Yeah.
Well, it's just down the street from the Home Alone house.
Oh.
Well, that church has been converted into. It's called the community house.
Okay.
And so there's classes. There's a French preschool there.
Huh.
There's like art classes can be taken, music classes can be taken, and there's like it's a workout center, like with a gym and stuff like that.
Wow.
And
it's a whole thing.
then the North Shore Art League office is out of there, and they have space that you can rent, like if you're doing a think tank. That's what I should do. I should just rent out.
Hold a think tank.
Yeah, I should rent out a space and hold a think tank and just think on things in a rented space, because apparently I can't think outside of a rented space.
Right.
Anybody else out there like that?
Yeah. Got to go to a rented spot in order to think good.
Think.
Yeah, so are you going to dress up for Halloween night?
You know, it's really interesting. I think my everyday life is dress up.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, our little town, you know, is, people with a lot of preconceived ideas. And so when I just like walking into our little grocery store in my paint clothes. I'm pretty sure everyone there...
they think it's a costume.
I think everyone there thinks that I'm a construction worker.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just go into my work clothes, and the other day I looked and I had a pen in my back pocket. It blew up, and so I'm like walking through the store with an ink blowout on my booty. You know, I mean, come on. Yeah. And so I'm like, don't take yourself so seriously. But there's a new guy working as a bagger, and he's about 6'3" and just the biggest smile. And yesterday, he said to me, he's like, "How long blah blah blah?" And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "How long? Oh, how long did it take to grow your beard?" And I said, "Oh, I've had it for about 8 years and stuff." He's like, "Oh, wow." And I said, "Yeah, I'm thinking about shaving it." And then all three gentlemen in the area were like, "No, don't do it. You will miss that." And I said, "Well, you know, I actually think of the beard as its own entity, and you know, it would be a great personal loss." I said, "But I might drop about 10 years in my appearance too, because like right now, when kids see me, they all call me Santa Claus."
Well, I mean, and to me, I think that the journey of regrowing it is also pretty fun. I mean, so like I don't have, I mean, so what was it? Pandemic.
Yeah.
I didn't shave, like I wasn't clean shaven. Never. Like I haven't been clean shaven in a long, long time. Probably since I was like in my early 20s when I shaved it off and my wife cried. She's like, "What happened to you?" Right? So then that happened. So it's like since then, I haven't been clean shaven. I've always had some kind of facial hair.
Yeah.
And so the beard's been around now for, I don't know, it's 7 years, 8 years, somewhere in there.
Remember when Rick Warren brought in the goatee? So floral shirts and goatees for pastors. Right. Yeah. He made it okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so we take a giant leap now that we're tripping.
Now that we're tripping. And
so what do you got to bring to the table about Fringe?
Yeah, so a couple of things.
All right.
We like to bring up the Alien, so I figured we might as well bring that up first.
Yeah. Have you seen any?
No.
Okay. I just want to let people know that I got so disappointed in asking and none showing up.
Yeah.
that I just stopped asking.
So no longer. So you're going to have to, aliens, if you're listening, you're going to have to make the first move because Steve's no longer going to do it.
They've alienated themselves from me.
Right. So we go back to, and this just happened, so like October 24th, right? A first of its kind panel organized by NASA opened a study on Monday of what the government calls unidentified aerial phenomenon, commonly known as what people would say UFO. They now call UAPs.
Oh.
So the UAP is the phenomenon, and this NASA group has 16 people on this panel, and they are going to be looking at these unclassified sightings and other data that is apparently going to be put in front of them. So they're going, the ones that we hear about, and even the Pentagon has, come out. We talked about this before, that there have been these aerial objects, and it's been described that it is unidentified. They don't know who it is, what it is. And so apparently this NASA group is going to explore it. Now, to me, this is like somewhat of a big moment because prior, they've always just like, must be a weather balloon, must be some other, they explain, and they're just kind of dismiss any talk of UFO or UAPs.
Huh.
They just say, nope, not. But now NASA, right, which is government funded, meaning like it's associated with the government, and they're saying, hey, we're actually going to put together, right, a group, 16 people that are going to talk about these UAPs. And so I think it's quite an interesting, at least, maybe this also is the, hey, everybody look at the right hand. We're putting together this panel while the left hand is, pulling the strings of something else. Could be. But that's a movement in the UAP world or UFO world or aliens. And they're not necessarily saying they're looking for aliens. They're just saying we're going to study the UAP that are available. Because it is unidentified. They don't know what it is. But they're saying we suspect somebody knows what it is. And we'll try to get to the bottom of it. So that's the UFO fringe. Your thoughts?
Well, just 6 days ago, there was a reported sighting here in Illinois.
Oh?
Yeah. And the way to find it is on Fox Channel 32. And, so I'm... it's one of those things where people are struggling with the whole thing on, hey, is it true? Is it not true? And I was saying earlier, I'm not sure that when it comes to conspiracies that we need to be pouring gasoline on word fires and stuff like that. But
right.
I like the idea that if there is thriller horror, usually aliens are not depicted as friendly beings.
Right. Most of the time.
Which seems to me that if we beat on the bandwagon of, why do we do that? I think it's within humanity to have an enemy. And so aliens and the search for, and so I just wonder if this is a great excuse for the government on that side, that if they're pursuing it to look into it, it's a new guise to be able to throw more money and research into weaponry under the umbrella of we're preparing for when we meet aliens.
Yeah.
But its real intention with weaponry is how can we develop other things to be able to use against humanity.
Right. And get paid to do it.
Right. Sign me up for that job, right. Johnny.
So I do suspect that you are closer to the truth than than what we would suspect.
Put me on the X-Files, dude.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, because whether or not, and I've talked about on here saying I'm not really a true believer that there are these little green men, floating around space. I think that there are unidentified sources of, where they find, they say, we found life on Mars. Well, usually it's a single cell or something like that. It's something that's identical. They still call that alien life because it's unknown. Yeah, I'm still not in the camp where I fully believe that these UAPs are manned by little green men or women or they, them. So I'm still not in that because I think that the UAPs doesn't mean or equal alien life form. A UAP could mean that there are other governments and even our own that are testing things behind us that are looking towards, I think, more towards what you're talking about with hey, we need to have advancements behind the scenes because we have to be ready for other foreign enemies.
Yeah.
So that's where I would say.
I haven't thought about any of this. I'm just, spitting things that are going through my mind while I'm doing Google searches on more stuff on aliens and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's where I land. So we got aliens. Hey, if you're out there listening to this and you have interacted with an alien, we would love to interact with you. It's kind of like 2 degrees of Kevin Bacon, which I know it's really 6, just so everybody understands.
Right.
But
and just know that we're skeptical.
You're more skeptical than I am.
That's true. So are you an embracer of, do you believe or embrace the idea that these are alien life forms as well?
I like the idea of historic alien interaction on this little blue marble.
Like Roswell, kind of like that historical, or
that's new history.
Oh, okay.
To me. I'm going back to back in the days of the pyramids.
Oh.
I like the Egyptian tie with stuff. It just seems to me that there have been ancient cultures that were more advanced than we are. And I end up going back to I think it's alien technology that has allowed for our brains to conceive the ideas of what's going on currently in our world. Now, there just seems to be so much in the past that was, that catapulted. Roswell, we talked, and so then there's, all of this stuff, alien interaction, or it could be, maybe it's not alien. Maybe it's celestial beings.
Which I think we did talk about one episode, yeah.
Yeah, and so the idea of that kind of where did this great information come from? But in the case of Roswell, and for people who are well read with UFOs and aliens and is it UAPs?
Yeah.
With UAPs, it's still not native to me to say it that way. people who are well read in that and are dealing with that, it was back in the day when, we're talking about moving from radio into black and white TVs.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about, I think, see, this takes me back to Tesla. One of the most brilliant people ever to watch. Now, but Tesla was onto something. And, everybody's heard this is another urban legend, the people who have figured out how to be able to run car engines off of water. But why won't they do that? Well, because of corporate greed and, the exploitation of, these natural resources.
Yeah.
And then we wonder why a hurricane comes through and wipes out, a lot. I mean, and you could, here's one where, like, if you're a believer in the Lord Jesus Christ and you have great faith, I mean, don't take what I'm going to say and be like, that guy's just an idiot. I know there's no way. But is it so far-fetched that the earth is angry at humanity? Now, see, what I'm doing is I'm putting in a personification on, some people would call it an inanimate object, but is the earth inanimate?
No.
And you're looking at what we have 4 points. North, south, east, and west.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now let's talk about fire. When we talk about the elements, now I'm going down this First Nations thought process. Mm-hmm. There are some beautiful things from the First Nations culture.
Mm-hmm.
Why does it all have to be thrown out because of a declaration of faith in Jesus Christ?
Yeah. It's a good question.
Well,
especially if you're looking at the earth being angry. I mean, scriptures, the whole, talk about the earth being angry. I mean, Romans talks about, that the earth is also groaning, right? It's like, Urgh!
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's why I would say, see, this is good. There's a good reason why we don't do a podcast alone. I mean, because, and so, like, you're like, hey, do you believe in alien? Well, I really can believe in, if it's not alien, it's celestial.
Mm-hmm.
Celestial?
Celestial.
Yeah. And if that's the case, the celestial interaction with humanity,
yeah.
Then I get into time travel. And how I get into time travel is there's no interaction that occurs. I'm currently watching the old Quantum Leap.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. How he gets in there and does stuff and how it changes history. But everybody knows there's laws to time travel.
Right.
You can't jump into a different timeline. And, I mean, McFly.
Hello.
McFly, Back to the Future. These are very, and so I think if people are like, wow, you're kind of talking like you've talked about this before. I am, like, I'm hitting high points of things that we've spent a whole episode on, and you can go back through and you can go to our YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
If you enter in Fringe, like, you can go to the subject matter. Like, there's a whole library of Fringe because I put that little check mark in the box.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's got to check a box sometime. But yeah, so, like, if celestial beings interacted with humanity, it's changed our timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Roswell, spacecraft. All of a sudden now we move from tube technology into transistors.
Yeah.
It changed space and time. Meaning not outer space and not the timeline. I mean, like, it allowed for something that took that created a lot of heat energy, and it shrank it down into these little things that could be soldered onto boards, which became the beginning of computer boards and how computers work. And where did it come from?
Yeah.
People are really smart. Oh, are they?
But that's always the thought, is like,
so why are the super chips only coming from Taiwan?
Yeah.
But that's our reality.
Right, but and it's like the idea that somehow we're just getting smarter over time. Like somehow, like these people back in the day were all dumb.
Build me a pyramid.
Now we've gotten smarter.
Build me a how come
it's just not. It's not true.
Right.
Like we might have a different intellect, but it doesn't mean the people now are smarter than they were 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 6,000, whatever years ago. When it was happening. So like the Egyptians, there's a lot that goes back to the Egyptians. Lots of things.
Right.
Like strange things, odd things, hieroglyphics, that kind of like that are there's some strange stuff in the midst of that you're like you can't ignore. I mean, and even creation, like not actual creation of the earth or whatever, but like inventions and modern technologies of the day then, right? And both Egyptians, the Romans, like there were plenty of smart, like genius people throughout history. And we just look at the ones that we know of. Like we look at Einstein and we look at Tesla. We look at, if you want to bring Elon into this, apparently he's pretty smart too.
Well, and so Elon, what I will give to Elon is he is the computer native smart person.
Yeah.
Meaning that computers had already been invented when he was born, the interaction. What he's really good at is bringing more smarter people than himself into the room. And because of funding,
right,
he's able to have people go and do things in shorter amounts of time in regards because and it just keeps on accruing. And that in itself is its own shell game because, whether he's got the money or doesn't have the money, it's rolling in. There's a really cool documentary on, I think it's on Netflix, about the lady scientist that wanted to do the blood. Basically, it was a Ponzi scheme. About
oh yeah, it's on Hulu.
Oh
yeah, there was one at least on Hulu.
Yeah, blood tests.
Yeah, that lady who ended up getting convicted.
Yes.
Right.
And so yeah, and to your point, I also think that hey, if people want to hear a word of encouragement today, let me encourage you. You're actually smarter than you think.
That's good to know. I'll have to tell my wife.
No, like you are smarter than you have the abilities within you to go beyond what you think you can. And so why I bring that up is what it's going to take for you to realize that may be a list of steps that you're not willing to take to explore what is beyond what's in you.
Right.
What is in you is beyond where you're living in your own experience. And to tap into that, now again, I'm doing red flag stuff. There's people who are like, now that's New Ageism. Hey, let's not be confrontational. Let me twist this in a biblical format. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, at the end of the chapter, when I was a child, I spoke as a child. When I became a man, I put away childish things. But there will come a day, and this is the Koval paraphrase, there will come a day when I will look into the mirror and I will see myself as I am seen. It's the ability to be able to know that what was planned for you to become is unclear because you're not able to see into the future. But the creator of our origins already knows our end days and what we will become.
Yeah.
And so in that, people need to understand that what you are today is not what you're not finished becoming. And as you are moving into what you can become, there are some steps that you can take, and you are smarter than you think. But you're not going to like the list, and you're not going to like the steps. So use your phone to call people. Put the damn thing down, and don't be scrolling and,
doom scrolling.
Don't be stuck on your phone. Mm-hmm. Step number 1. Step number 2, instead of having screen time limitations for your children, limit your own screen time. I mean, we watch a lot of movies and stuff. I've got stuff playing all the time, almost to a crutch. I'm like, okay, I'm cleaning. All right, I'll throw this on and I'm listening to this, Right. I listened to a great documentary on booksellers. Absolutely fascinating. That might have been Prime. Getting ready to listen to a documentary on the typewriter. I have an incredible fascination with typewriters. And so no one would know. But it's what, and it goes back to that Stephen King movie where like the kid gave this phone to this older billionaire gentleman and stuff like that. And he goes, look, I like country music, but I don't have a radio in the house. Because it would be a distraction for what I want to accomplish. I don't have a TV here. I'm not watching TV. When the kid gave him the phone, he's like, yeah, now. And it even showed up in the relationship because this kid was reading books to him. And as he was reading the one time, then he was stuck in his phone watching the markets and stuff like this. Mm-hmm. And it affected, like the kid saw what it had stolen from their relationship.
Yeah.
But, I bring up earlier that, man, books, if you haven't exercised the reading part of your brain, if you're committed to screen, what do you want? Make, if there's an area that you want to grow in and you're committed to screen time, pull up YouTube and watch a couple YouTube videos. Was having problems with some stuff on firing and things like that with my kiln. And, I literally had to take time. I had to take 3 hours and scroll through and do some research and I had to tell myself, I'm like, this isn't stupid. You're running into similar problems. So you need to get on top of what is in your control with these problems that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And had to research it.
Did you get the new elements?
So I got 5 or 7 of them. I'm missing 5. They showed up yesterday.
Oh.
So, hopefully.
Yeah. It's on its way.
But and then to people of different ages, what I would say is don't expect to have the wisdom of a 90-year-old at the age of 25.
Right.
I mean, life lessons. Like when I go through a house and I'm thinking about projects, it showed up the other day when we were cleaning the house, and the day was coming to an end. And as we were getting ready to leave, Amy turned around from what she was working on, and she's like, "Oh, well, you have the front room all cleaned up and all set and ready to go." But see, that was a skill I learned as a laborer on a construction site. And basically the boss told me, he's like, here, this is what I want you to do. I want you to think ahead to what I need you to clean up. You got to keep my workspace clean. I want you, haul the junk to the junk pile.
Yeah.
Stack the stuff that's disorderly. Pick up the nails, pick up the screw. I mean, like, but by the time we get to the end of I want to work to the end of the day, but by the time we get to the end, I don't want to have to clean up my mess. So that's your job. Dude was paying me $10 an hour back in 1985.
Wow. That's a lot for 85.
Oh, I mean, I'm pretty sure minimum wage was $3.50 to $4.50. I mean, It was 2 times rate. Mm-hmm. So, but with that, that's something, and I like when I work in the studio, my last day of the week is my cleanup day. Why? So when I come in for my first day of the week,
you can get going.
I can just get to work. Mm-hmm. And so with that, but I never would have the information within me to be able to take on other projects and stuff like that if I hadn't started as a cleanup guy in 89, 85, 89. Mm-hmm. So what if you're looking now, there's some people who are like, I don't even know what I want to grow in. Well, so sit down and be quiet and ask yourself, what is within you that there's a longing that you do want to grow? And so, and there, we head into a place where we all are, and quite frankly, we're just like dumbing ourselves down by, being distracted with things that aren't, I mean, so you go back to all the translation work that Luther did. Did he have a TV?
No.
Was there electricity?
No.
Right?
Yeah. Candlelight at night.
And a quill pen.
Mm-hmm.
The fascinating part of the story about these booksellers, back in the day, in the height, mm-hmm. In New York, there was like 365 bookstores. Currently today, 79.
Wow.
And and collectors and just all this stuff. There was one dude with a collection mm-hmm. that paid $1.5 million at his New York apartment to reinforce the building so that it could handle the bookshelves that he put in there.
Wow.
Yeah. But the idea of an archive and stuff like that, that's why, like, songs that I've written, I don't know that I have every song that I've written in my pencil form draft. But yeah, I've got a stash of stuff. Mm-hmm. And hey, you know what? If, rest in peace, when there's a day that I go, if other people want to throw it out, they can. But if other people want to collate it, they can do that too.
So knowledge coming from outside of us, and you even began by saying possibly implanted in us. Yes?
I think what I was starting out talking about was that what we can become is within us. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so we need to take steps to go toward that. But knowledge, I mean, there's a lot of information outside. And then, like, I'd probably jump in a bucket with Solomon on this. There's nothing new under the sun, but don't say that you're an idiot and sit on a couch and, not pursue. And if you're like, well, all those people are doing this and they're doing that and whatever. I mean, like, hey, come on.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, so we're getting towards the end of the episode today, but just to add another layer of fringe, which we don't usually talk about, like the idea of ghosts,
supernatural.
Yeah, that kind of realm. We haven't spent a ton of time in that area, but
we're not going to do a Ouija board.
Right, we're not.
Right.
But with that kind of closing up this episode, we'll talk because it is
Halloween weekend.
Halloween,
yeah,
right? And there's spooky. Lots of people still go as a ghost.
The ghoulishness,
right?
Whoa.
And so it's interesting when you're looking at the city of Chicago. Some people believe that Chicago is known as one of the most haunted cities in America, which I didn't consider. I mean, if you're looking at age of cities, then if like something's around for a longer amount of time, more things happen. So of course, then therefore more.
There's been
sightings.
Some funky stuff go on in this town, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
right.
It's like dark.
Yeah. I mean, and they have, because it is a tourist city as well. You have all kinds of the tourism things. Like if you wanted to learn about the gangs of Chicago, especially like Capone, 20s, gangs. There's a whole tour that you can go on that's going to take you all to the sites of, the things that you need to know.
You got a problem with me?
Right. But it's the same thing. They also have apparently ghosts and haunted tours.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And you can go on these ghost and haunted tours throughout the city of Chicago, both, at cemeteries. There's a whole bunch.
Yep.
And old cemeteries, which is where, so lots of things happen in the city of Chicago that are in that nature. I would say, based on with my wife and her fascination with the with this area. She doesn't like horror, but yet she likes real life ghost stories kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so she loves that stuff. And things happen around moving water a lot. So rivers, lakes that are moving constantly, that there's some things where they talk about the paranormal, in this kind of like moving water stuff. So, and we have Lake Michigan, which is, and then the offshoots, we have the Chicago River, we've got the Des Plaines River, all that are kind of flowing throughout this whole land of ours. And I think it's from that could be also lots of people, but creepy things happen all throughout the city. One of the ones I was mentioning to Steve before we started was what we reference as the Wilco Towers. Some people would call them the Marina City Towers or the Corncob Towers.
Yeah.
Right, and there's things that happen at those Corncob Towers even before it was officially opened and ready for people to move into the apartments that are above it. 1961, 3 workers fell. The same year, 7 men were severely injured. And because of a destabilized, the elevator plummeted.
A plummeting elevator.
Right. 1 year later, another worker fell. And then once the towers were actually finished, mysterious reports of apparitions and shadow people began to pop up, with residents claiming to be plagued with feelings of sadness and depression. A string of murders, strange deaths, suicides ensued to this day, and the reputation of the Corncob Towers remains disturbing and perplexing, leading to its super creepy appearance, apparently, as we go back to and rounding this back to the beginning. It was referenced in the remake of Candyman, Jordan Peele. So, the Corncob Towers. So, creepy things happening. Now, it's always the question, like, is it really the ghosts that are causing the sadness and the depression, or does trauma stick?
See, you've really carried that thread.
Yeah.
I did a quick search because I said First Nations earlier, and I wanted to make sure I was being politically correct when I used term for Native American. Anyway, I've been reading Google, and one of the things that I wanted to bring up when you brought up bodies of water and rivers is that Native Americans, in their religious practice and belief system, see that motion and moving water and the soul is very interconnected. And so I only picked up on that when I saw a documentary on Muscle Shoals and the recording studio there.
Yeah.
Now, I bring that into play that really from the tour that we took, the architectural tour, that Native Americans, were in this area in Chicagoland because of the water, because of fishing, because, and that there would be a heightened awareness of people who are no longer living, like it would make sense. But I've never seen a ghost.
Me either. Which is then, also where I also lump myself into the skeptical, range on this.
I think you and I probably have some biases based on our faith structure.
Yeah, probably. But we also know, even biblically, it wasn't unheard. I remember the story, Jesus walking on the water, right? So the disciples are out on the boat, and it says, and they thought it was a ghost. So, the idea of that is not brand new for us at all either. There's something about that thought of, there's the seen, but the not so seen, is it real? Those things have been around, whether or not it's real that we have ghosts, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, and what are they? What is, that's a whole realm of that's kind of different.
Yeah.
There's, then you find ghost hunters. There's a whole thing with ghost hunters and some of the ghost hunters are actually just skeptical, they don't believe any of it's actually real. And they're actually, the only reason why they're ghost hunting is to be able to tell you, this isn't real. This is because of this.
Debunk the theory.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of places, if you look at the skyline in Chicago, the, one of the old, I think it's right along Michigan, is the Congress Hotel, which apparently was built to make sure to house the people who were in for the World's Fair in Chicago, which then you go back to, H.H. Holmes, right? Devil in the White City guy. Yeah. So the Congress Hotel has a whole bunch of, they say, it's one of the most haunted places in Chicago, with so much activity, but then you're looking, so that's closer to the lake too. But, so what's carrying, can you go in there and say, well, this is the actual reason for some of this? Is there a lot of debunking, or is it that you don't really want to debunk this because then we're also going to miss out on the tourism money for ghost hunters?
Yeah, right.
So there's a lot of it that maybe even goes into the conspiracy realm a little bit of oh, I know a friend who, or my wife did, felt this, did, okay. Is there a way to actually, or do we just want to loft these out there and then ultimately say, yeah, because the idea with Halloween, with what they call All Hallows Eve, or then the next day All Saints Day, is the idea is that they said is that the spirit world is at its peak at this time of year. Now you could probably go back to Wiccan stuff there and then try to understand that as well. Somehow this spirit realm is near. Right now you can always, it's always there. You can't always see it until at its peak with this Halloween, All Hallows Eve, All Saints Day. that it's at its peak, and you get to maybe see a glimpse of something that's normally unseen.
Well, and for people who haven't heard our Halloween episodes in previous years, one of the things that was determined was it was a celebratory time of celebrating the harvest,
right?
Getting ready for the slumber, or to be able to hibernate through the winter. And so another time of action and in the celebration parts.
Yeah. So I think that a lot of that, I don't mind talking about it. I don't even mind watching some of those shows with my wife. But I also get skeptical in those areas too. I guess you'd just call me an ultimate skeptic. I get skeptical a lot.
Yeah.
Like, what are you trying to sell?
Yeah.
And oftentimes that's what it is. We gotta sell, like a lot of those shows that, as they Ghost Hunters or whatever is, they're also scripted. They're trying to bring something to you that's, we need more viewers and whatever it's going to take in order for us to get there. So, yeah.
Yeah. And so we would love to hear if you've interacted with a ghost.
Yeah.
Or someone in the afterlife.
Yeah. And then how do you also, because I hear like the, what we call the spiritually sensitive, or the, psychic sensitive, or the medium sensitives, and I'm always like, what does that mean? What does it mean that you're sensitive to that? Like that there's, I don't know. Again, those are my questions towards a lot. Like, really, what does it mean?
Yeah.
Psychics, mediums, people that are supposed to apparently deal with the beyond. Like, are you actually talking to or believing that you're somehow communicating with the dead? That it's not really the dead? That you actually might be dealing with something a little bit darker? I don't know. I have lots of questions.
Very interestingly, what I put into play was I knew Houdini was a spiritualist trying to communicate. Really, he was doing the work to debunk people who said they could communicate with people in the afterlife.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this, but Houdini died on Halloween, October 31st, 1926. And despite the numerous seances that have been held since then, especially on Halloween, to give him a chance to make contact, not a word has been heard yet from the great Houdini. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I knew that there was a movie that was somewhat based on Houdini. Can't remember which one it was, but yeah. Spooky, scary. Ooh.
I think when it comes to Halloween, that humanity, I'm going to drop this one here. Humanity is so used to wearing its own costume that it's a night or a celebration that allows, or culturally it's permissive to alter your costume. And so it's a fun celebration of what happens every day.
Wow, that's some profound stuff right there. So the costume that we normally wear, we get to actually adorn a real costume to hide who we are.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I think.
Yeah. So why not celebrate that? Yeah.
I mean, it's festivity. It's another way to be able to get out and just enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Put a costume on the old skin sack.
Well, with that thought in mind, we're going to say goodbye. Thanks a lot for that final thought.
You started it.
I'll wear that. I'll wear it. All right. Well, hey, have a good Halloween tomorrow night, and don't get your sugar out of whack. Mm-hmm. No sugar comas.
Right. Be good.
Are wanted.
Right.
Take it easy.
See you.